I'm here with Austin McNabb of VizyPay, the founder and CEO. Austin, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you allowing me to discuss kind of the journey with you guys and kind of our organization as well, man.
Yeah, it's been a fun journey, and I've enjoyed obviously partnering with you. We talk a lot, but I wanted to take the time today to walk through your background, your story, and how VizyPay and Uproar's partnership has helped to create that awareness to help grow the business. So, I know a lot about you, but I want you to share for people listening. I know you didn't have a straight line path to where you are with VizyPay today, not just where it is today, but even starting it, being in the payments industry. But tell a little bit about your background and how you got here.
Well, I've been this year I'll be in the payments business for about 21 years now. Long time, basically my whole adult life I've been in the payment space. I live it, I breathe it, I know it. This is what I am all about. I'll be in it probably the rest of my life just because I love it that much. There's definitely ups and downs within our organization and just in payments in general. But when I first started, I was just an 18-year-old chump that responded to actually didn't respond. I actually mistakenly left my resume on back in the day. I think it was like Monster or Career Builder, whatever the big one was, almost over 20 years ago. And I just left Best Buy. I went to GameStop to run a store, and I kept getting this phone call. I mean, this phone call was like 805 area code, which I knew was California, and I kept on getting it. So I thought for sure it happened to be spam, right?
Right.
Finally, I answered it one day, and it happened to be a company in the payment space, and they were looking for independent contractors to sell their products and services. And for me, growing up, I watched my mom, bust her ass 7 days a week working, and when she immigrated from Vietnam to the United States, and she worked in factory jobs, and her thing was work hard, go to school, get good grades, and become a lawyer, become a doctor, make good money, move up in a company, whatever it may be. So
Right.
I didn't
That's
become
the immigrant view, right? Be a
yeah,
lawyer, doctor.
be a lawyer, doctor. And then, when I got a corporate kind of a job, like a Best Buy or GameStop, hey, well, move up, move up, move up, move up, right? Outwork everyone, move up. So, in my mind, I thought for sure, in GameStop, I'm going to be a store manager, then I'm going to move up and I move up and move up, right? And at that time, I thought making $31,000 a year as a store manager, I thought that was dope, at 18 years old, right? I was like, this is awesome. I'm
Probably
moving
was
up.
dope.
Yeah. And then, this guy called me. It was a guy, a recruiter out of California, and pitched this payment space idea, basically help help businesses accept credit cards, because back then some of them were actually not even accepting them, or save money for the ones that do. And I'm like, oh, well, tell me more. And then I found out it was commission, like totally 100% commission. I was like, fuck that. There's no fucking way I could do that. I just can't do that at all.
Right.
Because I'm used to the move up, right? Move up, make a salary, move up the chart. So I blew him off and didn't answer his call again for weeks. Finally, one day he called again, and I almost picked up to a point of telling him that, what, right?
Right.
But I didn't. I don't know what mood I was in that day, but I was actually at GameStop. I walked in the back of our storage room, took the call, and the guy pitched me again. And I said, you know what? I'll give it one day a week on my off day. I work 6 days a week now. I'll give it one day a week. And so I did do that. I literally learned everything they had online that I could print out. I learned everything. Then I went out one day a week, and the first client I ever had was the exact client my wife and I had our first date at when we first started dating.
Oh.
And then that individual gave me a friend, and then that person gave me a friend of a friend, and then it kind of spiraled into, holy crap, I actually can do this. And within 6 weeks, I quit my job at GameStop. My girlfriend, which is now my wife at that time, she was like, I'm all in. It's commission, but I believe you can do it. So I went and did it. I mean, within 6 weeks, I literally quit my job. And the first year, I remember, I made like $105,000, right?
Right.
And this is totally commission. And I was
Big
like,
jump
man,
up.
this is I'm like, this is awesome,
Yeah.
And then I worked for that organization for a little bit, and then I left to another one. And I was there for about 6 months until the original owners of the first one I worked for, they started another company out of Northern California. And they convinced me to come work for them. And their convincing initially was go run a call center in Latvia, right by Russia. And that was their first attempt to get me. And I actually said yes to it until things changed. And they said, they diverted me and said, all right, well, we want you to move from Iowa to San Francisco instead, right?
Right.
We want you to basically duplicate Austin in the sales field times 1,000,000 people. Like basically just remake yourself as a director at an organization, because we need people selling our products and services in the payment space, which is exactly what they just, came from and sold out of, a year and a half previous.
Right.
And I said, well, okay, I guess I'll move out to California, from Iowa. Well, my wife is, and I have a newborn, the whole works. And I moved out there and I spent 11 years being the executive director at their organization. I was their number 2 employee, I believe, at that time. They grew to an organization that was over 200 people. And I believe their final valuation when they walked out the door 13 years later, like the official final, I was gone 2 years before that because they were selling incrementally, was like 840 million, right? And
Yeah.
our organization was a glorified sales organization in the payment space, but they still made it work, and I was a big part of that. So about 11
I'm
years
sure you
into it.
learned a lot of positive things in that experience, but what's one like thing that you're like, if I ever ran my own business, I would never do this in that space? And how did it inform what you ended up having as a vision for VizyPay?
Well, that was, one of the reasons I left, before they fully sold out is I didn't want to be part of the next corporate run, which they were turning corporate at that time. And, there's a lot of things I learned, good and bad. But one thing that I felt that I could do better at was, being more laser focused on rural American small businesses that I think were being left behind, that were the most taken advantage of in our space, and do it in a way that is building an organization off of culture first, transparency second, and then being the voice of small business owners. Because what I found there was sales partners and merchants always were number one, and I believed it actually for a long time until I realized that the people in your organization should be number one because they're the very people taking care of those individuals. So that's why culture is first here. So I said I could definitely do that better, and I could definitely focus more on rural America better. And honestly, I wouldn't even be doing business with like a company like Uproar if I couldn't meet those standards, because there would be nothing to pitch us on when it comes down to actually being a company that's different than the rest, right?
Right.
Because there's a lot of us out there in our industry, and it's hard to separate yourself from the rest, especially when a lot of people consider it a commodity, even though we're building out technology today and doing these unique things. But how do you stand out? You stand out by doing everything opposite of what everyone else is doing, of how you run your organization, all the way to what your organization focuses on when it comes specifically to niche markets like rural America. And that's what we've done. And that's how we are today, of how we can do better than what I came from. So.
Right. Well, you do have a unique story, and we've enjoyed being a partner and telling it. But what got you thinking about PR, and how has that worked out? We've been partners now for a few years together. How's that? How do you feel that process has gone for you?
In my 20s, I was probably more of an arrogant type of guy, and I could do everything myself. And, I wanted to be the smartest guy in the room, and I wanted to maintain the knowledge. And I always wanted to be that guy, right? The spotlight guy that knew everything. The older I got, and especially the more knee deep I got in building VizyPay, I realized that when you're sitting at a table, you cannot be the smartest person at that table. There has to be people around you that are better, smarter, more experienced in areas where you lack thereof. Could I learn PR? Could I learn different things? Of course I could. But reality is, we wanted to find a company that was, I felt, not too big, meaning they would give you personalized service, because I didn't want to deal with, I didn't want to be like, hey, Austin, you're with VizyPay. Cool. Can you give us your client number? And I didn't want that vibe.
Right.
I wanted the vibe of, if we call, oh, look, it's VizyPay, it's Austin, or it's Shannon, or it's the team, right? It. And I needed to be surrounded by individuals smarter than me when it came down to really getting our name out there above and beyond just the way we're doing it, right? And then we bumped into Uproar, and we found you guys, and we tested you guys out, and we felt that we did have that homey feel, right? That family feel,
Yeah.
that you're not asking for literally our client number. I could call you,
Right.
and you would take my call, or our team can reach out to your team, and they're very responsive, and they call us by name, and they know where we're at in the situation, and it was more boutique kind of style that made us feel like we're part of. You're an extension of our team, not a person I'm paying you to be on our team for. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Oh
And
yeah.
that's a big,
We
and
feel
that's a
that
different
way
feeling.
too.
Yeah, that's a different feeling. And I think that's where, sitting at a table with people smarter than you is where Uproar comes into play. Which, if you sat at our table, you would be better and smarter and more, I would say, sophisticated, and have more tools and connections than we would ever have, because that's what you live and breathe and do for a living. Just like if you came to me for payments, I could probably be that guy for you, right? But
Right.
in this situation, you didn't need me as much as I needed you, and I needed the smart people around the table, and Upper happened to be those individuals that you provided us team-wise to do that for us.
Well, I'll tell you from our perspective, you mentioned transparency before. One of the things we love about partnering with you guys is that we can talk to you about what we see, and you're totally open about, no, we want to go in this direction, or this is the story we want to tell, but you're always communicating with us. That transparency, that open dialogue that happens between us, I think adds a ton of value to the end product and how we're able to get out to market and tell that story.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we had to tell ourselves we had to do. One of the lessons to be learned when you surround yourself by people that are smarter than you, when it comes down to maybe a particular niche, which you guys are very good at PR, is how am I going to tell you how to do something initially, right? Initially, I need you to coach me, teach me, and then once I learn it and feel more confident in it, which you guys allowed us to be more confident in it, you then allowed us to have more of a voice on things we want to do or not do. But that was based on experience with you guys, of you leading the charge. What I find in business a lot of the time is cool. Well, hey guys, Upper, I'm paying your asses to do what I want you to do. Go do it.
Right.
And that doesn't always work that way, when reality is like, well, we get what you're trying to go accomplish, but it's going to be patient, takes patience, takes time, takes seed building,
Build
and
the
then
trust.
build the trust. Those things matter. And
Yeah.
we had to be open-minded to it. So myself and staff, I said we have to be open-minded. We have to let them take lead, right? I wouldn't be partners with someone especially if I knew they were better than me in something, if I didn't allow them to take lead. Why the hell partner with? Why pay them? Why be
Right.
involved with them, right? Well, in this situation, I don't even feel like we pay you guys as a vendor. I feel like you guys are a partner of our organization, an extension of our organization that just happens to be laser focused on telling our story, and have allowed us, through trust, through partnership, to be more vocal on things we want to do or not do. But initially, you guys took lead. And by the way, just to be clear, you guys have failed, you guys have succeeded, but I don't consider you guys doing it by yourself. We collectively as a group have, and then we have
Right.
found through patience and time and trial and error that things started working and things started going in the right direction, because just like you guys are new to us, we are just as new to you,
Right.
and I think that's what people like. They're expecting you to make them, Mark Zuckerberg day one and have 1 billion followers. Like, that's just not going to happen.
Right.
I wish that was a magic trick, but I'd be probably paying a lot of money for that, like billions of dollars to do that. But when you're a smaller company like us and a startup that was bootstrapped, you have a budget, which you guys always worked with us on. And we have a certain amount of things we can spend money on, because cash flow matters. And you guys allowed us to work with us on that at a small scale, building up to a big scale, sometimes even going backwards a little bit and then forward again, because you guys didn't care about the money as much as you cared about telling our story. You didn't care about us being just another client as much as you cared about making sure that we are understood for the company we are, even if you are dealing with other organizations that are similar to us. Because I
Right.
think every organization has a different story, a different vibe, a different culture, a different motive, right? And you guys find it, and then you guys jump on it. And then sometimes you guys tell us it's stupid. You shouldn't do that. And you know what? I want you to tell us that. And then, and that's part of our partnership. And that's why I love it.
Well, and that comes from trust, right? Being able to tell
Yep.
somebody, hey, this is not the direction for you. That comes from
Yeah.
trust and time.
Yep. 100%, man.
So doesn't necessarily have to be a PR win, but what do you think, if you think back on 2023, what do you think stands out to you as like your biggest win of the year from last year?
When it comes to this being, maybe not PR related or PR related, it doesn't really matter. I think at the end of the day, every one of our wins There's a story behind it. There's a journey behind it. And I think that's where, regardless if you guys want to or not, you guys are still telling that story. And maybe through creative writing or connections or being in a certain spots that you see us to be in. But you guys, it's funny, you guys pay more attention to us than my wife does to us, probably, or myself, because you guys are so involved with us. So our biggest victories, you guys celebrate, even if maybe you guys aren't maybe dealing with it, but you take it, and that's the ideas you feed off of to give us the potential stories. So last year for us as an organization, I thought that we made a lot of progress at solidifying, continual growth, making sure that we have the right people in the right spot, creating different technologies and teams to kind of go into 2024 and expand. And if you think about kind of just going back just with our relationship, you guys have been able to plant seeds and be able to tell that story along the way. And so our victories are just as much as yours, because if we win, you win. And if you win, we win, right?
Right.
So I was thinking that last year, those are the type of victories. Now, if you want to get like intimate and detailed about victories, I mean, I think, for me personally, I think last year I grew a lot as a leader. I've never ran an organization with 100 people. And that also impacts, not only the individuals here at our office, but our vendors that we're close with, like you. And I think that's, I've grown up a little bit when it comes down to maturity of understanding how to treat and I guess kind of mature, if you would, when it comes down to the relationships that we have with our vendors and our team here at our organization, to in return treat our vendors, which is our partners, like you. Not even a vendor, a partner. I think vendor is the wrong word. It sounds so factory-ish.
Right.
More of a partner. And I think that's one of my personal biggest victories that I think obviously you've seen, because you and I talk a handful of times throughout the year with you being involved with us. So
Yeah. And the one thing I love, you talk about culture first, right, in your organization, and you always bring the passion, and your team always brings the passion. You guys, I never have to worry that the story's not going to get told with good passion behind it. So
yeah.
what keeps you fired up? Like, how do you get that energy going every single day like that?
Well, I mean, I guess maybe it's biased a little bit, right? Because, when we first started, we bootstrapped it. I was going door to door, getting sales as a first employee, to now, where we're at today. So what wakes me up and motivates me is I didn't want to do it for nothing, because, today it's not about the money. It's not about having nice things. It's not about doing all the stuff that you would think a normal CEO would want to do, or, when we get to this level, because I don't think we're successful. I think there's a lot more, things we can do and more value we can bring, specifically around the very people that are in our organization today. And what wakes me up and gets me excited is it's a lot funner to have successes, regardless if it's financial, if it's, more traveling, freedom, whatever it may be. It's a lot better to do it with people along your journey with you. And I think that a lot of people at our organization have been, with us for a while. And I think they deserve to have the best version of Austin, so they can be the best version of themselves, to continue to grow and have the definitions of success that they want for their families. And regardless if it is, again, financial, if it's travel, if it's more time at home, it's more vacation, whatever it may be, I think it's my obligation to coach, teach, influence, give advice to get them to go in that direction, right? So I don't wake up every morning thinking about, man, hopefully get a lot of sales today. I don't think I want to wake up in the morning and say, man, we got to go to work and we got to just, fire people, hire people, and maybe check our account balance sheet. That's not my focus. That is part of what I need to do as a leader. But the main thing is how do we help the very individuals at our organization, not remember that they did PR with Uproar in 20 years, but remember the memories and the lessons learned by doing business with
Right.
Uproar and our organization in 20 years from now. That's what I need them remembering. I don't need them remembering, oh yeah, they were really strict, and they always were hardcore about doing their job, and they didn't allow me to mess up or fail. We believe in fail quick. They didn't want us to fail. Our ideas were smushed, or when they were never open-minded. I didn't want that feeling for them in 20 years. I want them to be better husbands, better wives, better brothers, sisters, sons, you name it, by the lessons and habits they built here. And that is also indicative of the relationships they have with our partners and their colleagues. So they could take that home and do better there as well, because they spend more time here than they do at the house,
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, this has been great. I appreciate the partnership, and I love having a front row seat to your growth. I've watched you change. I've watched the organization change and grow, and it's been fun to watch. And I appreciate your partnership, and I look forward to many more years together, working together, telling your story.
Hey, likewise, buddy. You and your team are class act, and we appreciate all you do for us as well, man.
Well, thanks so much, Austin. It was great talking to you.
Yep.